to the final part of our little sewing tutorial for our drawstring bag. So you probably remember we left off where we're ready now to box the corners, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Now we need to do the same thing to all four corners, so I'll just show you one and then you can go ahead and do the rest. So you need to grab your corner and pull the two pieces of fabric apart, and then we need to line them up so that your seams are together, and this is how you're going to get nice not pointed, your seams are going to be together at the bottom, they're not going to be off, if you know what I mean. So you need to line up those seams and make sure that your edges are together. I tend to sort of pull it apart and then check, yeah, that's fine. Pop in a pin. You might not need to, but I do need that little bit of security with a pin. And then we're going to sew across here, again, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch seam. And again, I tend to go over a couple of times over the centre bit just for a bit of extra strength. So I'll go ahead and do that. And you'll just need to do that, the same process with the other 3 corners, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's all 4 corners boxed, and we can now turn it right side out. This is the most exciting bit, I always think, when you're making a bag. Now, because there's no lining with this, you will find that that hole that we left doesn't need to be massive, because it's just, you know, there's no bulk really to pull through. So we need to pull all the way through, and then I go inside and just put my finger in the corners. There's a little thread there, that's a piece of the, that's not cotton, it's just a fray on the fabric. Get rid of that. Go into the corners and just poke your finger in just to get those out nicely. And the other one. Okay, and then the same thing for the lining, just poke those corners out. And then the last thing to do sewing wise is just to sew up that little hole. So we just, again, just do a finger press along that seam and just do a line of stitching to close that up. Just trim all your ends, and then we can push our liner inside, and we're nearly done. What I like to do at this stage is give it all a press. You can see it's all a bit crinkled, so I'll go to the ironing board, and what I do, I'll show you here, it's easier than moving to the ironing board, is if you push your hand in like that, push your hands in and get your fingers into the corners, that flattens out all of the 2 layers of fabric, and then get your iron and go inside like that, and then do the same thing on that side. Push your fingers into the corners, flatten it all out, iron inside, and then iron the top. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so there's our bag all lovely and pressed. You can see the box bottoms really nice and lined up. Corners are really lovely. So the last thing we need to do is to put in our drawstring. Now you can use really anything you want for your drawstring. I'm using a cord for this one because it kind of matches the camping theme, I think. I've used ribbon quite a lot. You can use a thinner cord than this. You could make your own cord, you know, out of fabric, or you could knit an I-cord. Anything you want really you can use for the drawstrings. We've got 2 pieces, and you can see because I'm using cord, the sellotape just on the end because it does tend to fray. I think what you can do is you can seal it with some heat and it sort of melts it. If you want to do that, but I'll tie the 2 ends together when I've done it, and then if it frays it doesn't really matter at that point. So we need to take our safety pin, and it needs to be a nice size that it's going to fit along your drawstring, not too small. I find that the bigger ones are much easier to kind of get your cord through, and then we need to jam it through one end of whatever your cord is. Dan's looking worried that I'm going to stab myself. There you go. Okay, so now go through one end and just work it along. Get inside, you little tinker. There we go. Just work it along. And out the other end, turn your bag over, back in there, and then the same thing. You can just use one cord for this, but I find that it never shuts properly if you only use one cord, so I always use 2. Okay, and out the other end, take it off. And then before I do the other one, I tie this one because you can find that it slips back in when you're working the other one through. No, I do it like that, don't I? So just tie the 2 ends together. This produces quite a short cord when it's open, but you know, when you pull it shut, then the cord will be much longer, obviously. So that's that end knotted and safe, and then we do the same thing with the other one. So just jam it through, but we start at the opposite end. So this time we started over here where the cords are now. We want to start at the opposite end so that we've got them at both ends and we can pull them. So just exactly the same thing. Pop it in there and work it through. It's a bit more tricky because you've already got a cord in there, but just feel your way along and do the same thing. Just tie that off. This is quite a chunky cord. I probably would have used a thinner one in reality, but this is just what I had in, and it works. And that's that tie there. So I'll get a ball of yarn and put it in, shall I? And then that's, oh, it's really nice. I really want to knit with that. So let's pop that in. And then pull. Look how lovely. Not completely flat at the bottom. Let's make it flat. There we go. So there we go. That's our finished bag. What do you think? Isn't it sweet? So you can now go ahead and make 5 billion of these because this size I don't think takes very much fabric really at all. You can use fat quarters. You can use fat quarters quite easily, or leftover scraps from quilts, or you could actually piece bits together, you know, and do a patchwork one, which would be lovely, I think. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that, and now I've got a lovely bag to give Bryony when she gets home from school, so that's always nice. So I will see you for the next tutorial.